Welcome back, everybody. It's another episode of From Conflict to Collaboration. I'm your co-host, Chris Angel, here with your host, Tara Weir. Hello, Tara.
Hi, Chris.
Pura Vida. I loved our last episode on Pura Vida. That's so great. Everybody wants more meaning in life.
Yes.
So good. I feel like last episode, we were kind of moving into our conversation for today, because I think sometimes what gets in the way of Pura Vida, right, is our own blind spots. And sort of like the autopilot that we're on. So walk me down the road of sort of where you see teams and people getting stuck in work in their blind spots.
Well, I think a lot of it is autopilot, and I think it's overwhelm. So I think a lot of professionals have accepted that that's just how you're supposed to do it. You're just supposed to be on autopilot, or you're supposed to just be, working really hard and not really feeling the heart of it, not being or not coming from inspiration or settling. I think it's a lot of settling for what is, which is usually, mediocre relationships and mediocre dynamics in the team, or problems, but we won't talk about it or address it. Conflicts with somebody that we just spin again, pointing that they're, that this is their problem. So I think the blind spot is saying, that we are not aware that we've accepted that we're not aware that we've settled, and that it's time for, I'm encouraging and inviting and challenging professionals to say, no, I want more. I want to be able to bring my full voice to the table. I don't want to just swallow down the challenge, or not bring my best, and not my best as in perfect, clean, and neat, but as in bring my full self, bring my wholehearted self, as Brene would say, and bring that to the table so that I'm thriving and our team is thriving and the company is thriving.
Yeah. I think blind spots are, it's the weird thing about blind spots. It's hard to see them ourselves. Do you feel like can you see your own blind spot? Like, you talk about self-awareness a lot. I don't know. Do you feel like you can see it, or?
Well, I think it starts with an intention. I think the intention is, I want to see my blind spots. I want to grow. And the best way for me to grow is to become aware of that I'm not aware of.
Yeah.
So that a lot of my clients start there. That's the conversation that we start with, which is, what is it that I'm doing that's creating what I'm not enjoying?
Right.
And then that's where the blinders start to come off, and the self-awareness and the skills they start to develop to have a self-reflection that allows them to thrive, not to get diminished or not to be abusive of ourselves, but how to have that self-reflection and then be able to move forward and excel and to be our better selves.
That's amazing. I hadn't really thought about that. I always think of blind spots needing a coach, because I've come from a coaching background where, I've relied on coaches to point things out, and I point things out for people. But I do love this idea that just simply saying or having an intention that I want to see my blind spots, like, I can also relate to that. That was a blind spot for me. That I see my own blind spots. Yeah. Where I've set an intention. I'm like, I want to see what's happening. And then all of a sudden I start to notice things I hadn't noticed before.
Right. Well, I think the value of a coach, to your point, is that the coach can ask the questions that help uncover the blind spots, and then they can help with learning the skills and incorporating the mindset and the skills to create what they want to create. So it's one thing to know, it's like, okay, I know that I need to probably drink more water and try to exercise every day and eat certain foods to be healthy, right? But that's part of why people hire a fitness coach or a health coach, is because we need that. It really helps to have that person to help continue to uncover those blind spots, to process that, and then to shift to show up the way we want to show up.
Is it an overstatement to say that any place that a team, or even, I guess, you listening to this, a person who's a team or a person who's experiencing dissatisfaction, that there's a blind spot responsible for that experience.
No question about it. I have full confidence from all the years that I've worked with people that,
Yeah.
and that's why, like we talked about in the last episode, that's why we start with ownership, because ultimately, if I am feeling angry,
Yeah.
defensive, exhausted, deflated, diminished, scared, any of those uncomfortable feelings,
Yeah.
there's something going on that I'm not taking care of that can create that pura vida. And so if there's any of that going on, there are choices I get to make on shifting that within inside of myself and then showing up differently. So absolutely, hands down, there's no question there's a blind spot, because it starts with the ownership to say, it's this dissatisfaction and this reactivity is within me. It's not outside there. It's not the outside's fault. It's not blaming and the judging.
Right.
Ownership.
Beautiful. It's like, if you didn't find the blind spot, but we may not see the blind spot, but we still experience the friction that the blind spot creates. And so we can be completely frustrated with our team, or frustrated with my position in the company, or my whatever, and keep trying to find different ways to solve it, right? Because we're feeling the friction of the blind spot, but it never gets fixed because the blind spot never gets exposed. Yes?
Yes, exactly. Let's get a new training. Let's bring in a consultant. Let's go on a retreat. Let's have, let's have Joe come over from that department. They've got it together. Let's have them talk to us. I mean, I think that those are the Band-Aids, or let's complain to management. Let's go and say,
oh my gosh,
like that's the Band-Aid fix, and it doesn't really fix it. So yeah,
I feel like sometimes it's like, I have to remember back to my corporate days where it's like, kind of and I don't know, it's like The Office times 10, like, right, where you're like scoffing at the, like, oh, okay, the manager just read some type of personal development book, and now they're going to have a meeting where we're going to do something that they said in the book. And so we all show up like, okay, like, what's this thing that we're doing that from the book or conference you went to? And we all sort of can feel it as like, you're trying something on us. You know what I mean? Like, and so I feel like this guinea pig, or this inauthentic, like, attempt at something, right?
Yes. And I could just see, it's almost like a teenager's response, rolling your eyes.
Yes.
Okay, fine, let's do it, because you said we need to.
Yes.
You're trying to figure something out, but you don't really know. But truly, what we need to do is have an authentic conversation and get everybody at the table. And I mean, people think, oh, that was a really good meeting. Nobody said anything. That was quick and easy. Well, golly, you have so much going on underneath the surface. And it's those things that are going on underneath the surface that often are where the magic is. It's where creativity lies. It's where high quality interactions with each other lie. So where it's quality interpersonal interaction with each other. So it's in the blind spots. It's in those, and it's in the leader owning that and saying, there isn't a fix. This isn't, I don't need the exact right training. We need to, I need to start owning my experience and learning about what I'm doing to create my experience, and then make a shift in that.
That just reminded me of one of the things I work with solopreneurs a lot. So it's a lot of like, where my tribe goes, they look outside of themselves for answers. And I'm like, right, they're looking to books, they're looking to things out here for answers. I'm like, no, the answers are inside of you. I just feel like I connected the dots on, like, from a corporate setting, like, as a team, the answers are not outside your team. They're not in some other department. They're not in a book. They're not at the next conference. Like, in some ways, the answers are inside your team. And if you would, as a leader, speak to your team in a way that invited their perspective and honored their life experience, that the richness of conversation you would start to experience from your team, that alone would create Pura Vida is in your work as a leader. But the performance your team would start to have would be crazy, because you guys would be working together.
Yes. And the elephant would be, out of the room because it's being talked about, and we're being real with each other, and there's trust, and there's, there's relations that will allow people to really be authentic. So yeah, I think and those conversations are uncomfortable, but that's where the leader can come from, is owning, I know this is uncomfortable. I'm nervous about talking about this. Or, the reason that I didn't bring this topic up earlier was because I was afraid that you were going to think I wasn't a very good leader because I was showing you my vulnerability. And I keep thinking you need to see me as this perfect leader, but I'm not. I'm a human and I'm overwhelmed, or whatever it is that's going on for them. But having that real conversation, that's really uncomfortable. And it's learning how, as a leader, to hold the container, create the space and hold the container of those tough conversations, and being authentic in an effective way, not where it's like I'm laying out all my dirty laundry and I'm, but it's like how to truly come to the conversation in a meaningful, authentic way, in a way that's effective and that will be useful. And then how to create the environment where people will do the same.
Right.
Your team members will do the same.
We talk a lot about skill sets and mindsets. I mean, the reality is if you're going to create something new that works, that is a self-expression, has meaning and purpose, like you're going to have a new way you think about it, and you're going to have a new set of skills that you can do about it, which is what you just said. Like, now you're showing up, the way that you speak to your team is a skill. That's a skill set. Like how you invite your team to participate, that's a skill set. Yes. That you invite your team to participate, that's a mindset, right? Like, oh, that my team might have something to add, and a mindset that I don't have to have all the answers. Right. I think a lot of times when we're put in leadership positions, we think because I'm the leader, I'm supposed to lead and have the answers. But a lot of times being a leader is about holding, like you said, holding the container holding the space for your team to show up. Yes.
Right. And to find the answers within, and that part of, it's so funny that we think the leader is supposed to have the answers, or when we're in that role, we're supposed to have all the answers. And yet truly a fabulous leader is the person that can help facilitate a conversation to get the answers to come from within the group. Right. And that's a skill set, and that's being willing and becoming more comfortable with the discomfort of vulnerability.
Right. As long as I've known you, and you talk about powerful connections now, I mean, it's the name of your company, but the whole thing about like having powerful connections and now having them now boils down to the ability to communicate and have some type of exchange in conversation. Like, that's a skill set. That's what, and you have to have the right mindset in order to have that kind of conversation. For sure.
Right. Absolutely. You have to have the right mindset, and you have to have, there's subtleties. I mean, how I approach a conversation can really affects and can really impact how that other person responds to me. Yeah. And so part of the skill set is teaching people how to communicate their message so that it can be heard and understood more easily, and then how to communicate to really understand their message. And that's where the connection, and it's meaningful. It's, it's like in being meaningful and being real and authentic, that's powerful. Yeah. That's where the power lies. It's not like power over, it's like power within.
Yeah. I totally get that. Have you worked with teams to sort of prime this type of an experience, or sort of teach them how to have this together?
Yes. And really the key is when I work both with the leader individually and then the leader with the team, because it comes from how the leader sets the tone, that it's always is from the top down. And that's the reality. And often leaders take clues and cues from above, but that doesn't mean they can't change. Right. If I'm a middle manager or I'm a director and I'm reporting to the CEO, regardless of how that person shows up, I have the power, I have the influence, I have the opportunity to help my team, the people that are reporting to me, show up in a different way, but I have to show up in a different way. So it's helping the leader, and then it's helping the leader and their team show up.
I like the idea that there's sort of a structured environment. I think it's easy. I don't know if it's an ego thing or a pride thing, but it is easy to start to be like, well, I'll figure it out. Like, I'll go read a book. Like, okay, thanks, Tara. I get this idea that we should communicate in a way and our answers come from within. That's cool. I'm going to go read a book about it. And I'm going to figure this out. But I think sometimes like the fastest path to change is having a structured environment and bringing an expert in that actually can help the team experience. Like, again, we're back to blind spots, because for you to try to create that environment, having not created it before, you're out of your element a little bit.
Yes.
It's good that you have the self-awareness to see that you want to train, that you want it to change and that this could work, but now just invest in, bring the experience to your team so that it happens quickly and effectively.
Yes, absolutely. And there is something to be said. I have many clients bring me in and talk to their team after I've been working with them, because they're like, this is valuable. I really want them to hear this, but I think they're going to really hear this better from somebody from the outside. And then you bring me in, and then everybody on all levels are chewing on these ideas and practicing the skills and starting to play with some of the ideas, and so it's full circle. And there is something definitely to be said for that, that outside perspective that can keep them accountable, that can keep them moving forward, that allows them space and place to debrief, to set goals, to follow up about those goals. It's all of those pieces in the coaching relationship. And that's where I love to start, because when I can work with the leader and have them start to implement the new paradigm, that's where it begins. And then it can start to influence the team.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So good. Is it when you work with teams, is it something that, after they've done whatever the format is with you that they've done, do you start to see people change fairly quickly? Like,
yeah, it really doesn't take long. Many of my toughest clients, the people that I'm like thinking, I'm not sure how they're going to embrace this, because I got such resistance, or they started very, very strongly, heels dug in that it's their problem and that they should be doing this, and if only that. And it's amazing how quickly they can see. And then when they really see they experience the empowerment that comes from owning things, owning the situation, owning the dynamic, and then making new choices about it and showing up differently, it impacts their joy of their job. It impacts their sense of confidence and their capacity to make a change and make a difference. I mean, it's really powerful, and it's not, I would say that there's a short-term effect, and then their practice is where the long-term effect comes. But the short-term payoff is pretty immediate.
I feel like, that's so good, because some people can think that this could never change, right? Like that this environment I work in, or that my team is the way they are and we're all set in our ways. No, we just all have blind spots. And when we start to put the elephant in the center of the room and talk about it, pretty soon we all of that falls off, and we can start having quick, powerful connections now.
Right. Exactly.
And beyond that, that's just like, look, that's just the price of entry. Like that just gets you in the door to the whole pura vida of what you can create now with your team, which takes time.
Right, which takes time. Exactly. Yeah. So you're right, short-term, long-term. And the taking time piece, and the part that really I think is at the heart of it, which is the pura vida, which is the pure goodness, and for me, it's that, like, we're living the vision, we're connecting with each other, and we're excited about what we're creating together. And we're a community that's strengthening each other, and that we're bringing things out of ourselves that we never thought possible because of the flow that is happening and the realness that we're bringing to the table with each other. And that's, to me, what we're really working towards. And then to be able to sustain that, it's like, okay, now let's sustain that. And let's say somebody leaves the position and they bring in a new person. It's like, welcome to our culture. Here's how we do things, right? And then they get to then be a part of this culture of meaningful, authentic, challenging, trust building kind of community that their goal is this vision and this mission, and there and moment to moment, that pura vida, that goodness is present.
Yeah. I think everybody wants to, leaders and people working with leaders want to experience work as flow, like that we get to show up and things, not only do things happen with so much chemistry, but that the things we do make a difference. They happen quickly. There's this momentum that comes from working together inside of flow. And I think all of that starts with, to your point, first we access blind spots, right? And then we actually set the environment to look at them together as a team and create the communication, the powerful connection now, so that we can now go build for the rest of our career. We could go build what Pura Vida looks like in this company and this team for whatever it is we're here to do as a self-expression, as a human.
Exactly. It, I think of when I was teaching at Gonzaga, a lot of the students would say, oh, this is a required class, and they would just sort of roll their eyes, a lot of them that resisted it. But then every time I would be out in the community and talking with adults and professionals, they hands down, the most common comment was, I had no idea how valuable that class was going to be to my entire life, not only personally, not only professionally, but personally, how to communicate and how to share my ideas and how to listen. And so it's so funny that we have, like, these students have this blind spot, not realizing, and then these professionals realize, this is really valuable. This is core stuff. Right. Yeah. So it's to not be underestimated, right? It's definitely a valuable, it can be life-changing, because we go, we come into the workforce with a vision, and our vision is like, oh, it's going to be great, and then we don't quite know how to create that. So. Right.
Yes. So good. Well, you know how to create that.
I do.
That's what you do. That's what you do with teams. I love it.
I love it.
If people want to hire you or even just talk to you to see if there's something you can do to help get their team to that type of space, how do people connect with you?
Through my website is the best way. It's powerfulconnectionsnow.com. And they can either fill out the form at the bottom and submit that to get into my inbox, which I then reply to right away, or they can click on the it says click to schedule a consultation, and they can click on that and schedule a session.
Perfect. So good. Powerful Connections Now. Tara, great stuff. We are in flow. We are going. So those of you listening, if you have more ideas for what you'd like to share with us so we can talk about it and help you loosen up and empower your team, go to Tara's site, Powerful Connections Now, scroll down to the bottom, send that comment in so that we can see what else it is that you are wrestling with, because we'd love to create all in confidentiality, but we'd love to create content that helps you in your current work and life. So good stuff. Tara, thank you. Until next time, take care. See ya.
Pura Vida.
Pura Vida.